Hello, I'm Oral Gibbs, and welcome to Oral Gibbs Live. With me is Dr. Mercelina. You're going to meet him in a while. Let me tell you first about the sponsors of this program. Windward Islands Bank, located in Phillipsburg, Cul-de-Sac, and also in Simpson Bay. Windward Islands Bank for all your banking needs. And GEBE, GBE, local water and electricity company, GEBE, serving St. Martin for more than 6 decades. My guest in the program this evening is, well, he's not a stranger, right? How are you doing, Doctor?
Good night, Arend. Thank you very much for having me as an invitee in this program. And also in the name of the members of the Ursm, we thank you for giving us the opportunity, as me being the leader of the Ursm, to be in your program tonight. Always a great honor, and thank you for the invitation.
USRM.
URSM.
What it stands for?
The Unified Resilient St. Martin Movement. The Unified Resilient St. Martin Movement is a political party, and it was established on 10/10/2021. We decided per se that we wanted to launch this party on the 10th of October, symbolically on the day, an important day for Country St. Martin, being the Constitution Day of Country St. Martin. Or we are now in a crisis with this country, and we from the Ursm realize that, and we think it's time now to bring hope back to the people of this country. And the Ursm stands for inclusion. We believe in inclusion, the concept of inclusion for this country, and I will explain you why. The reason for inclusion is because we are living here in a society represented by 120 different nationalities. It's a unique situation. It can be an example for the world how we live here with 120 different nationalities. On the other side, we have to be realistic, and we have to realize that with 120 nationalities, you're going to put the identity of the country under pressure, and you're going to also challenge the patriotism of the country, because you have to share this sentiment with actually 120 different nationalities. And we are aware of that, and that's why we think from the Ursm that with the concept of inclusion, that we can create a base to create this country identity for Country St. Martin. Further, Arnold, this Ursm is aware of the needs, the hope, and the aspiration of the people of this country. The Ursm wants to govern with integrity, with morals and principles, and with transparency for the people of this country. And also, Arnold, we are very aware of the socio-economic status of this country. The people governing this country now are doing as if it's business as usual. At this particular moment, the people of this country are in cry. For example, Arnold, it is so deplorable, the situation now, that 30% of the people of this country are living under the poverty norm. Can you imagine that one of each citizen in this country is living under the poverty norm of this country? In this country, at this particular moment, the education is a big issue. This moment in St. Martin, 42% of the people sharing this country do not have a secondary school education. That means almost one of each 2 persons walking around on this island does not have a secondary school education. The illiteracy rate is 6 to 7%. The unemployment rate is 18%. But Arnold, what more has to happen in this country for the government to wake up that something is going drastically wrong in this country?
Well, Doctor, all the things you just mentioned there, the average person will say, well, this is a great island. How come we have all these problems?
I think because we lack of leadership, lack of professionalism, and lack of vision. That is what has this country where it is today. And I think this has to change. And what we see that happened on the French side of Island St. Martin is the outcome of the election is not that the RSM has won. No, the concept, the aspiration, the hope for change has expressed itself in a totally different outcome on the French side. And I assure you, Oral, that that will translate to the Dutch side of the country, and people are in desperate need for a change in this country. And we believe from the Ursm that the Ursm will be the change for country St. Martin.
Now, you was in Parliament, so you understand how it works.
Yes,
And now you start your own party.
yes.
What has been the reaction from people?
People were impressed that I took the decision because it takes guts to take a stance. Oral, I joined politics with the idea that I had to join a political ship because I wanted to get to a chair that makes a difference, to make some changes for the country. But when I was on that chair, I realized that I could not identify myself with the vision of the crew members on that ship, and that is the reason that I left and I started my own political party. But the great part of it, Oris, is not about why I left. The great part of it is that I think that the vision that the Ursm is heading for, that will be the promising solution for country St. Martin. That is what we from the Ursm believe in. The Ursm is causing a huge wave. This wave consists of people that puts country above self, that puts the people above self, and tries to make it happen for country St. Martin with a good intention and a good soul for the prosperity of this country. That is where this Ursm is heading towards.
Now, Doctor, when you look at St. Martin,
Yes,
there's a lot of talk recently again about independence.
yes.
Where is your party position on political independence?
Very good question, Arles. Arles, the Ursm wants a full-fledged autonomy for country St. Martin. That is something else than independence. A full-fledged autonomy for country St. Martin means that in practice we should be an autonomous country. We are in practice not a autonomous country. On paper, if you follow the charter of the kingdom, we are a autonomous country on paper. But in reality, in practice, we are not. The only pillars that makes a autonomous country autonomous is the pillar of utility. You can ask yourself, where do we stand nowadays with the utility of this country? Where are we standing with the harbor as a pillar for autonomous country St. Martin? Where are we standing with the airport? Where are we standing with healthcare for country St. Martin? Where do we stand with education in this country? If we do not have those pillars that makes a country autonomous, crystallized and consolidated, we will never be able to in practice get an autonomous country going. Because until now, on paper we are an autonomous country, but in practice we are not showing the world that we are an autonomous country because our utility is not at place, our harbor is not at place, our airport is not at place, our telecommunication is not at place, and our healthcare is not at place. I'm not even talking about education and the waste management of this country. We are an autonomous country and we do not have a vision how we have to take care of our own waste. And these people are talking about a future independent St. Martin. Or let me tell you something. You know me, I'm a doctor in a hospital. We had recently this pandemic. We had a group from the States coming to help us to take care of the people of this country. The budget to have this AMI here on the island was $900,000 per month. We took care of the health care concerning the pandemic caused by the COVID virus. And these people are telling me that if the pandemic would have been in an independent country, that we would have had the budget to deal with this pandemic. People has to realize that now, at this specific moment, the AMI that takes care of our COVID patients, this project is completely being financed by the Dutch. But nobody wants to see that reality. Or I can tell you, we are not ready yet to be an independent country. We have to organize ourselves first. We have to get serious with this country, and we have to start putting the people and the country above self.
Now, what's your party position on the coho then?
Okay, that's a very good one too. Or let me start telling you, making two statements about this coho. The first one, the government, represented by the Prime Minister, of our country, made a fundamental historical error. She went to Holland and she made a deal with the State Secretary of Kingdom Relations. She made an agreement, and afterwards she came back to her parliament and especially to her coalition to inform them that she initiated a process for the implementation of a COHO. It has to be different. The Prime Minister should have gone to Holland, discuss the intention of the COHO with, in that time, State Secretary Knops, and from there on tell him, let me go back with your proposal and discuss it with my coalition first and see what they think about this COHO. But she made already the necessary arrangement that this whole COHO apparatus started to run, while she did not have the approval of her parliament and especially not of her coalition. So how do you think that the Prime Minister is already making deals for a COHO while she does not have the backup of her coalition and in general of her parliament? That's the first mistake if we start to talk about the COHO. The second mistake that we are making in this country is if you look at how we want to deal with it. Now we are hiding behind Curaçao and Aruba to have a stance on the COHO. We are a country. We have our own parliament. We have our own prime minister. We have our own government. We wanted to disconnect from the Netherlands Antilles in 10-10-10. We made a political choice in that time to dismantle the Netherlands Antilles because we thought as a country that we could arrange our things personally as a country with the Netherlands. And now we realize all of a sudden that we want to go back to the construction of the Netherlands Antilles to see if we can have a common stance on where we're standing now with this COHO. I think this is a disgrace and a disrespect to the people of this country that the government now does not have a vision, does not have an idea, and does not have a stance on where they want to head forward with this COHO for country St. Martin. You really think the parliament and the government of St. Martin has now to make an association, an alliance with Curaçao and Aruba to have a stance on the COHO? So, I think that's a shame for country St. Martin.
Are you in favor of it or you're against it?
If we talk about the COHO, Arnold, the following. The COHO has two intentions. We have to understand that good. And we're not talking about a COHO with one intention, and that is the cardinal problem of this COHO. The COHO has a non-political intention, and this COHO has a political intention. I want to explain you first the non-political intention. The non-political intention of the COHO is that the COHO wants to improve the administrative public body of St. Martin. Who does not want to improve the public administration of his country? Everybody wants that. Secondly, the COHO wants to improve the finance of country St. Martin. We want to make the finance sustainable and resilient. Who does not want to have in his country a sustainable, resilient finance for his country? Third, the COHO wants to improve the socio-economic status of the country. Actually, it wants to improve the livelihood of the people of this country. They want to do it by improving education. They want to do that by improving healthcare. They want to do that by improving justice. And they want to improve that by improving the social security of the country. Who does not want to improve all those items that I just mentioned? And thirdly, they want to introduce a fair taxation model for country St. Martin. If we would have done our job, we would have done the non-political intention of this COHO a long time ago on our own. No, we are waiting for the Dutch to bring solutions to solve our problem. Now I'm going to you to the political intention of the COHO.
Hold on there.
Yes.
I want to go back to 1990 to 1994.
Yes.
Because that was a period when the Dutch government sent a number of tax experts here to work in the tax office.
Yes.
The intention at the time was to really reform the tax office and make sure that it functioned optimally.
Of course.
We're now in 2022. that didn't happen.
It isn't.
What make you think is going to happen now with the cohort?
The cohort is going to fail because there is no political goodwill to cooperate and work together with the cohort. That is one. And because, as I told you, the cohort has two phases. It has a non-political intention, but it has also a political intention. Oral, I'm going to explain you this. The cohort is a Dutch administrative body. That means that the design of this administrative body is based on Dutch jurisdiction. If Dutch jurisdiction is designing this cohort, that means that this cohort is going to fall under the Minister of Holland, being the Minister of Home Affairs and Kingdom Relations. That means that at that particular moment, the cohort falls under what they call in Dutch the kaderwet. That means it's going to be a zelfstandig bestuursorgaan, a ZBO. And that means that the Minister of Home Affairs and Kingdom Relations is going to be the responsible one for the cohort. I'm going to go a step further with you. Under the Minister of Home Affairs and under this Minister of Kingdom Relations, he has a state secretary that used to be Mr. Knaps and now Mrs. Van Huffelen. Mrs. Van Huffelen is going to become the non-outspoken director of this cohort. And that means that the State Secretary of Kingdom Relations is going to become the director of the Prime Minister of this country. And that is because there is a political intention with this cohort. I'm going to go a step further with you. The cohort wants to interfere with the country finance of country St. Martin, the national budget, the financing of this country. But the finance policy, the budget of finance for country St. Martin, that is a law, the budget is a law, falls under jurisdiction of St. Martin. So you have a cohort that falls under jurisdiction of the Netherlands, and you have now the Netherlands wanting to come to St. Martin to interfere with the finance of the country, while the finance falls under the authority of parliament and government.
But Dr. CFT controls basically what happens here financially right now, because they have to actually agree to the budget, even sometimes before Parliament.
No. Otto, for clarity's sake, the way the cohort has a function in our system is that the cohort supervises and looks towards the policies and the financial management of the country. They have only a monitoring function concerning the policies and the actions taken with the finance of this country. But when we implement now the cohort, if you read the cohort carefully, the CFT, that is only a supervising entity, is going to now be able to interfere with the finance, the policies determining the finance decisions that has to be taken for countries.
I have to go back to
there's a shift taking place.
I have to go back to history here, Doctor, because it's important that we understand what happened. We had a referendum.
Yes.
The last one was in 2000, June 24, 2000.
Yes.
We voted for separate status.
Yes.
In 2006, there was an agreement. In that agreement was also the government of Simrat agreed to CFT. And in that agreement, you have to have 3 consecutive balanced budgets in order to remove the supervision of the CFT.
Yes.
Now, we are 12 years later, and we have a debt of over 1.4 billion guilders.
I know about that.
Under the CFT.
Yes.
So, tell us, what's the difference now with cohort, and why you think it's going to work?
Because I disagree with the cohort. I agree with the non-political intention, as I explained to you, of the cohort. I agree with that one. But I disagree with the political intention of the cohort. As I told you, for example, in this case, the cohort is designed under Dutch jurisdiction. And actually now, in comparison to the past, They will not only have a supervision, but they're going to be actively involved in decision making, while you have our own government for Country St. Martin and you have our own parliament for Country St. Martin. So you're going to see that there will be no goodwill from the local politicians to operate and to cooperate with this cohort. I'm telling you, Oral, the way this is going, that there is already a disconnect between the vision of the Prime Minister and the malcontent of Parliament and especially the coalition. I think this is death by arrival, the way they're moving forward, this cohort. I have a suggestion for this cohort. Oral, the cohort stands for Caribbean Entity for Reform and Development. Who does not want reform? Who does not want development? We want development and we want a reform. But what is wrong in this cohort are the two first letters being the Caribbean Entity. It should not be a Caribbean entity. It should be a custom-made plan for us to have our own cohort. And I am proposing, instead of having a cohort, we should have a SOHO. And the SOHO is not the sea, because otherwise they think that we will be part, because the Caribbean part of this cohort is actually the Netherlands and Antilles that they're talking about, because they're including Curaçao and Aruba in this cohort. We should not do that. The community of St. Martin is totally different than the community of Curaçao and the community of Aruba. The wishes, the desires, the way the society is set up and organized is completely different. We have in St. Martin every year the threat of hurricane. Curaçao and Aruba does not have it. So why should we settle for a cohort that actually has a uniformity with Curaçao and Aruba? We must go to solve this problem of the cohort. We must go to a SOHO that is custom-made, especially designed for Country St. Martin, and that's why I call it a SOHO and not a cohort. It should be St. Martin Entity for Reform and Development. That is where we have to go to. And the Prime Minister, the government of St. Martin, should have a take in the organization of this SOHO. It cannot be that the Minister of Home Affairs and Kingdom Relations is going to be the one controlling, deciding for policies that fall under jurisdiction of Country St. Martin. It's not possible. So we will have to make a shift from a cohort to a SOHO to solve this problem and have a continuity for a form of reform and development for Country St. Martin.
You know, I'm very skeptical because I've been around a long time.
Yes.
I've heard enormous amount of promises and suggestions, etc., and nothing ever really happens. That's why we are where we are right now. That's why the Dutch government is saying, look, we're going to do for you what you should have done for yourself many years ago.
Yes.
And it's our fault. But at the same time, the average man and woman in St. Martin who's aware of what's happening is saying, well, should I go to vote? Why should I go to vote for a parliament and for a government that really can't work in my interest anymore?
But that has been the history of this country. That's why, Oral, we started with this unified, resilient St. Martin movement. It's time, Oral, for us to put country and people above self with good intention to govern this country. Oral, I'm a surgeon. People love me in this country. I have operated approximately 50-60% of the populace of this country. You really think I'm going to leave my profession to go and mingle in this confusion of politics if I would not have the good intention for this country? Because I realize and I say to myself every day, if we, the people that we are in this Ursm, if we do not start to interfere in the business of this country, we are going to lose this country, Otto. So I'm asking the people of St. Martin to wake up and give the change an opportunity, because this is the last chance that we have to try to change the direction of this country, to bring prosperity back for everybody in this country.
Well, I don't. I'm still skeptical because of what has happened.
Yes,
I know you're new.
yes,
You was in Parliament for a time.
yes.
You're a very good person. I can say this. You want the best for St. Martin,
The best they want.
and I think all the others also they all want the best for St. Martin. But here we are, struggling on this beautiful island, and all the things you mentioned. I would like to ask you here this evening, Doctor, what has worked? What's working? Because we hear all the things that are not working. Is there anything that's working?
It will work, Otto. Otto, the formula for work to be successful is the following. It starts in Parliament. If I have to take a decision for the people of this country, the first thing I'm going to ask myself is if this relates to my morals, my principles, and my integrity as a person. That's the first question that pops up in my head. Secondly, what is being proposed on the table of Parliament? Is this something that the people of this country is going to benefit for? And at the third place is coming, if I take a decision that I think is the best for the country, am I still a team player with the coalition that I'm sitting in? And in the past, it have appeared many times that I took decisions not standing with the coalition because I wanted for sure to guarantee my morals and my principle, and to guarantee that the decision that I'm taking is going to serve the people of this country. And if they find that I'm not a team player, so be it. I'm not here to please team players. I'm here to please the people of this country and make the best decisions for the people of this country. All these people are in cry. St. Martin is in need. The people of this country are suffering. The two biggest parties now governing this country, historically they both have governed this country. Now they are together. It's the UP and the National Alliance. They are together forming a government to govern this country. Do you realize that these two biggest parties are not capable to help this country to put it back on track? So do you really think by the next elections that the people will be so ignorant to vote again for the establishment of the old political parties and think the next day that everything will change after elections? I cannot imagine that the people of this country are going to do that. And that's why we have the great hope that with this Ursm, people are going to see that there is an alternative to govern this country in a way that we are going to be prosperous for all people in this country.
Well, when I listen to what you're saying, and I know you mean what you're saying,
Yes,
let's take a look at labor.
labor.
Okay, we've had years, many years, working on the law for the 6-month contract,
Yes,
and every time it stalls.
yes.
I'm sure you're aware of that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think that's important, from your party's opinion?
As such, Otto, policies for labor are important, but we are now in a critical state, in a crisis situation for country St. Martin. First of all, we have to protect the laborers. They are suffering now under the circumstances of first the Irma that knocked down this country, and then the pandemic that caused an enormous world crisis. The people of St. Martin are crying, the laborers are crying. Oral, I'm going to give you an example. We are talking about this 12.5% that they're going to deduct.
Oh, it's hurting.
It's going to hurt, and I will tell you why. The only group of people that maintained their income during the pandemic and after the pandemic are the civil servants. They are the only one that maintain a stable income. You really think if you break this group, you really think these people are going to stop next to the road, buy a Coke, buy a Johnny Cake? They're not going to do it because they don't have that extra anymore to keep the local economy going. So I think it's going to be a big mistake if we implement this 12.5% on this group of people, because you're going to break the local economy of this country. That is what I believe. So you will have to have policies that's going to defend the poor, the weak at this particular moment, because the people of this country are suffering enormously, and we have to do something with that.
All right, we're speaking with the leader of the
RSM.
Yes. And his name is Dr. Mercelina. When we come back, we're going to continue speaking with Dr. Mercelina right here on Oral Gives Live.
In order to know what you want out of life, you need to observe, listen, and try it yourself. Promises, we can make it if we work together. That's just how it is. Let's stand strong, and serve the land. Working hard as one nation, yes we can. The more difficult it is to achieve, the more satisfying it is to make it. Just believe in us, we'll see you through it all. Never give up. Never give up. We can make it. Never forget those who were there for you. And if you dream big, you might just achieve it. The power to serve, standing for community. OGB got the power to serve, the power to serve. We got the energy. OGB.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information,
Oral Gives Live. My guest is leader of the URSM, Dr. Mercelina, and we're here speaking with Dr. Mercelina about his new political party. Do you think this government is going to survive?
Actually, I hope for the people of St. Martin, of course not, because I think this is one of the worst governments that we ever had in the history of St. Martin. And you know, Aurel, I want to offer the people of this country hope. If you ask the people now in government, just take me by the hand, walk with me to a project of something that gives me hope that I see some changes coming up for the country. You will be very disappointed to see that nobody knows where to bring you. And the problem is this government does not have a vision. People do not know where they're heading with this country. It's just a pragmatic way of governing this country, signing some documents, giving some civil servants some promotions, instead of thinking out of the box, big, to see where we're going to head with this country. Although in my political movement, the URSM, that we are all together with great motivated people. We are working now on a country plan that is a vision plan where we want to see this St. Martin in 10 years from now. We are a very, very organized party because we want now already to know, once we are in government with our manifesto, every decision that we make has to align with the long-term vision of country St. Martin. And that's why we are now making a country plan with a vision. Where do we want our country in 10 years from now? For example, I do believe that St. Martin is in need of a development bank. of a national development bank. Why? Because I do believe that especially the lower segment of the middle class of St. Martin should be able and should be in a position to purchase a property, a house in this country. If you leave this over to the commercial banks, they're going to give these poor people a mortgage with an interest rate of 7%. I do believe we have to bring a development bank to St. Martin to offer the people of this country a mortgage with a low interest rate of 1.5%. It's a dream of everybody to live in their own house. It's a dream of everybody to leave a house behind for the next generation. Why cannot we do this for the people of our country? Another thing is I believe in U.S. preclearance. Why? Because I think for the political dynamics of country St. Martin, the presence of the Americans are going to contribute to a great political evolution of this country. And secondly, I believe that this U.S. preclearance is going to give a great injection to the economy of this country. Further, I believe in an aggressive policy to see if we can accumulate and increase actually the professional treasury of this island. Until now, we are investing our young people to go to the United States and to Holland to study. And at the end of the day, we do not want to use them back. We make their life miserable. We don't give them an opportunity. And at the end of the day, we realize that we do not have enough know-how to govern and manage this country. So we will have to be aggressive in our policies to stimulate the recruitment of the human resources of professionals for this country. And that is what the Ursm wants. For example, you have to think out of the box with this country. I want, for example, to make St. Martin a redistribution internet hub for the Caribbean. Think out of the box. Why don't we make St. Martin a redistribution center for the Caribbean, for Amazon, for example? We have so many plans in our concept of our country plan that I think these are great initiatives and vision to put back this St. Martin back on track.
Right now, there's a new hospital on the construction.
Yes.
But a lot of people are beginning to question
Yes.
if it's going to survive. You're a doctor.
Yes.
You work there.
Yes.
You're not a financial person, but I think Ray Charles can watch that project and say, what's going on here?
Ora, let's start by the beginning. This hospital is budgeted for 150 million Antillian guilders. I can tell you, until this hospital finished, it will be double the amount that they budgeted.
So 300 million, you're saying?
Look as an example, the one of Curacao. That is incredible what happened.
But why is that going to happen in St. Martin?
Ora, let's go back. You have one national project that's going to cost you 150 million by the beginning of the project. 150 million is 1/3 of the national budget of a country. You are really telling me that you can carry a project like a hospital that's going to cost you 150 million, being 1/3, as an example of your national budget, that you think that your country can carry that? It's impossible. They have made a consortium of groups of people to put together to finance the hospital. One of them was SVB in the time that I was in Parliament.
But it's still
I warned them. And still, unfortunately, while the CFT is saying that the SVB, the SZV, is now in danger. They committed pre-pandemic, the corona, the COVID. The SVB committed to finance the hospital because they thought they will have the revenues to commit to that obligation. At the end of the day, the pandemic came. People lost their job. They're not contributing anymore to premiums to the SZV. You really think this SZV has the power now and the capacity to finance 59 million Antillian guilders to see if we can get through with this hospital? It's an illusion to think that the way we are going to be able to finalize this project called our National Hospital. I have made some impressive moves in Parliament. You all can remember. Nobody understood good what I was doing in Parliament. And today, the CFT is telling SZV what I told them in my motion when I sent a Minister of Healthcare home. Today, they are telling, the CFT is telling the government of St. Martin, you guys are bringing the pension fund, for example, the funds of the SZV in danger the way you are moving forward with this country. But those things, I have put all of them in my motion, and nobody understood in that time what I said and what I was doing. And today the CFT is just repeating what I said 3 years ago. So I would have been right if people would have listened to me, that the way they were heading with this SZV, especially with the funds of the SZV, that it's not going to be a resilient, sustainable funding for Country St. Martin. And that is what is happening now. Oral, read my lips. To finalize the financing of the hospital, we will have to tilt this whole process of financing, and I think the kingdom government has to step in. Otherwise, we are not going to get through with this huge financial project.
So you're saying it's going to fail?
I don't say it's going to fail. It's going to be very difficult to process it under the concept how they designed it to finance the project called our National Hospital.
Another problem people have with it is that once it's finished, and I hope it's finished, we all want it to be finished. What about staffing? Is that going to be an issue?
Oral, we are making a mistake. We think that building a national hospital is building a building. That is what we are doing now. We have, as a country, we call ourselves autonomous. I told you we are not even autonomous. We are calling ourselves an autonomous country, and we never defined the level of care that we think we have to provide to the people of this autonomous country. We do not have a defined healthcare vision for Country St. Martin, but we are building the hospital already. And we think that building a hospital is building a building. Building a hospital is building a total new concept of how do you want your healthcare on hospital level to be for the people of your country. And that is what is lacking always again. We start a project, but we didn't define first things first. And now we are with this hospital going. But I can challenge everybody in this country. There is no paper policy document that defines the level of care that Country St. Martin wants for its people. But we are already building the hospital. This is, of course, doomed to fail. We have to start with first things first. Define what we want in that building. What do we want to sell? We cannot milk a building and say we're going to start a business and we do not know if we're going to sell dresses in it or we're going to sell shoes in it. Because the shelves will be different if you sell clothes in it compared to when you sell shoes in it. And that is our problem. We have to start first things first. And that is the way, that ad hoc way that we have been governing this country, determining projects for this country. That is why it always went less successful, because we have to change our approach towards governing this
country. So you would say that URSM have the solution to that problem with the medical center?
Oral, there is a few things. I told you the first thing that we have to work on is our autonomy. And our autonomy is one of the pillars I told you. Next to utility and telecommunication is your healthcare. The healthcare of St. Martin is an expensive healthcare because it's an island healthcare. A continent healthcare is something else than a island healthcare. I can explain you that. If you have in a city in Holland, in Sittard, you want to transfer a patient to an academic center, You take the phone, you call, you order an ambulance. That ambulance is going to cost you 800 euros.
Yeah, we can't do
If
that
I
now.
pick
Yeah.
up a phone here to air evacuate a patient to a big medical center, it's going to cost me $25,000 to $30,000 just to get the patient there in that other country. Do you really think
so
we
then-
have the finance to do it that way?
So then, doctor, what is the solution?
I think there is a solution. There are a few basic human rights in the Kingdom of the Netherlands. One of them is healthcare. One of them is conditions under what the prisoners are experiencing now. And I do think mental health care, physical health care in a hospital, prison establishments, these entities has to be elevated on a higher level and needs cooperation of the kingdom. We are not able to finance and guarantee the basic human rights the way we think we can finance healthcare, the way we think we can finance our prison, the way we think we can finance our mental health care. All of those at this particular moment are failures in our country. And why? Because we do not have the financial capacity to offer the people what they deserve. It's time now to be honest with ourselves. And Oral, we have worked on a kingdom of similarities. It's time now for us to work on a kingdom of differences. In the past, we wanted the Dutch to understand our problems by looking through our eyes to our problem. You cannot convince a Dutch person to look at your problems with St. Martin eyes. If I go to Holland, I cannot look at Dutch problems with Dutch eyes because I'm a Caribbean man. So we will have to work on a kingdom of inclusion, a kingdom of respect, and a kingdom not of similarities, but a kingdom of differences. If we agree that we are a different type of people, that our local economy and socio-economic status is different than in Holland, and we understand the dynamics of how it works on an island in the Caribbean compared to the Dutch, I do believe there is space under good communication and good respect. I think there is a lot that we can realize in this kingdom. But we will have to have a prime minister, a government with vision that stands for the people of this country. Every time I speak for my people, people tell me you're against the Dutch. You really think I'm against the Dutch? My wife is a Dutch person, a beautiful person that gave me 3 beautiful children. I cannot be against the Dutch. But the fact that I come up for the people of my country does not mean that I'm against the Dutch. I don't have the task here to please the Dutch. I have one task here to please the people of my country. And if that means that I will have to be firm and stand for the people of my country, I will have to do that in negotiations with the Netherlands. That is why the people put me in the seat, what I hope in the nearby future.
I want to just jump back
Yes.
to medical because it's so important
Yes, it's
for a
very
lot of
important.
people.
Yes, for everybody.
Yes, definitely. All of us. There was a time I was very critical of the St. Martin Medical Center.
Yes.
But I realized something. There are a lot of dedicated people there. Hardworking nurses, doctors, people who want to do the best.
Yes.
But sometimes they're limited because of other things. Now, I'm not a doctor. And I want to be very cautious what I'm saying. Because a lot of people watching this program tonight are kind of like worried because Dr. Mercelina is there speaking with Oral. But he's not too clear of what are the problems, or is he at liberty to say what are the problems? Because some people feel that you can build the best building for St. Martin as a hospital, but we're not going to be able to staff it with the kind of with experts that we need, specialists.
Yeah.
Do you think that is an issue, or that's not an issue?
It is an issue. Oral, I have drafted with a group of professionals a national draft ordinance for medical health professionals. And I'm going to present it soon to Parliament while I'm not in government and not in Parliament. I want to change the law that determines who can come in this country and work or not.
Great.
Because
It's about time.
It's about time. Because we have a big registration that only Dutch doctors can come to St. Martin. Oral, we are paying
Explain that to my
40
audience.
million per year through SZV to bring our people to doctors in Colombia, in Santo Domingo.
But explain the big registration
Okay, if I
first.
ask now this doctor to come and operate my patients that he actually did already in his own establishment in Colombia, if I ask this doctor to come to St. Martin, they're going to tell me that this doctor is not competent because he does not fall under the big registration. I do believe we have to make, and I made it with a few healthcare professionals, and we're going to present soon that draft to Parliament, in which I think that we have to design our own national health care registry that we as a country are going to determine for ourselves who we're going to leave in this country to work as medical health professionals.
Without politicians playing into it, though?
No, politicians must not play in it because this draft is made. And I do believe that we have to implement this national health registry system based on a new draft ordinance, national draft ordinance. Otherwise, if we continue hanging on this big registration, we will not be able to supply the people of this country with the right professionals to take care of their health.
I am happy to hear that, doctor, because it's long overdue.
Long overdue. It's long overdue. But Oral, a person that has been for years already in the chair of the Ministry of Health should one day think the way I'm moving forward with this country, with this big registration, I'm going to fall short with the supplying of professionals from my country. So I tell to myself, before this ship sinks, I'm going to make a draft legislation that's going to replace this big that we are using. Why is it so that only Dutch doctors are capable to help our people? I'm not against Dutch doctors.
In St. Martin.
No, but it's difficult every time again to get Dutch doctors to come to St. Martin. And by the way, all those that has been operated by doctors in Colombia that were very successful, why all of a sudden that if they come to St. Martin, they are not capable of doing the job because they do not have a big registration. Let us, as a young country, make our own rules and to see if we can supply to the demands of our local situation. And to do that, Oral, we need leadership. We need people with vision. And I believe that the URSM has this group of people to bring the change for the country of St. Martin.
You know, you speak about leadership, but you know, each minister is responsible for his ministry.
Yes.
And sometimes it's so difficult. Just look at this government right now. It is so difficult to get things done because some ministers say, we're not even aware of this person being fired that's in their own ministry. That tells you something about this coalition government.
It tells you about the lack of capability of the individuals to assume the right responsibility to govern this country. I think that is a big challenge for country St. Martin, that we do not have the right people in the right chair to take the right decisions for the country. And that has to change, and that has the attention of the URSM too. Oral, we are going in this government building. The Prime Minister of this country is governing a government building. That governing a country is not governing a government building. Governing a country is making sure that everything is moving as expected outside of that building. I do not see and I don't feel the government by the people outside there. The whole day, everything is concentrated in that government building. But what is happening with the country? I do not see any evolution. I do not see any prosperity. The only thing that I see is misery, poverty, and lack of hope in this country.
Oh, I'm depressed.
You shouldn't be. Never give up the hope, Arl. The URSM is going to bring new hope to this country. Don't be depressed. If you are depressed, you're going to give up and we're going to lose our country. Please don't do that.
The reason I said that is because after listening to you and being around for so long, it's like nothing is changing.
Nothing has changed. But Arl, the only way that things can change is if we change today. Elections is coming, Otto. Please, I'm requesting the people of this country, don't mandate the same people back to govern this country. We have seen, we have felt the consequences of incapable people governing this country. It's time now to change the mandate to a new group of people to try to govern this country and put it back on track. Please, people of St. Martin, I'm looking at you. Please think twice before you mandate others to govern your country and make a wise decision, learning about your local situation that you're in at this particular moment.
Well, elections are constitutionally due in January of 2024.
But I heard that they're going to do it in November 2023, and they want to do it before Christmas.
Right.
Hopefully, we must not wait till November 2023, because I do not know if we have enough air in our lungs to survive this phase the way we are heading with this country.
Doctor, I have 40 seconds. It's all yours. In closing.
I want to thank you in the first place for the opportunity that you gave me. For me, it's a great honor to be here, and especially that you gave me the opportunity to talk with the people of this country, to wake them up and leave them realize how their country is at this particular moment. We have one more opportunity to save this country, and I really, out of my heart, humbly, I'm asking the people of this country to think twice before they make a choice to whom they want to give the authority to mandate this country. I hope that the Ursm will be the change for country St. Martin.
Well, Doctor, I want to wish you much success and hope that I'll be back sometime in the future, all right?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right.
Have a good night.
Thank you. And that's it for now. See you next time. Till then. Bye.